Well, hello everybody, welcome back into the Color Gemstone Academy. I am Paul Deasy, your instructor, and this is my YouTube channel called appropriately Paul Deasy Gemstones. Now this is our question and answer series, and as the name implies, I take your questions, your comments, your requests, and then I put it in a lesson form so that if others have the same questions, they will get answers to them. So without further ado, before we begin, once again, I would love to request, if you have not yet done so, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, then you can hit the like button if you want as well, because I want to grow this to the biggest free weekly gem class on YouTube, and with your help, I can get there. So again, this is episode 10 of our question and answer series. So I'm going to jump right in with Elmer G. And Elmer G says, I'm studying gemology, and you are so good at teaching about gems. Thank you, Paul Deasy. Please do a morganite topic. Well, that is a great suggestion, Elmer. I'm glad you're enjoying the lessons. Morganite is a fascinating gemstone, and I will indeed add that to the list of the upcoming gemstones, including a very interesting backstory on how it got the name morganite. So thank you for watching, Elmer. Okay, next one is from Andrea H. from episode 41 on spinel, one of my favorites. She says, I always notice very good clarity with my spinel. I see lower quality rubies with inclusions, opacity, but never with spinel. Interesting stuff. It looks like your book would be even more educational. Got to check your book out too. Well, this actually is a live version of a lot of things that are in my book, but if you are looking for it, it is available on ebooks, I think on Apple Books, and also on the Barnes & Noble app for Colored Gemstones by Paul Deasy, and also Opals by Paul Deasy. I have a small amount of them available that are still in print, and if you're interested in that, send me a separate message and I'll show you how you can go about getting one of those. So thank you for that, Andrea. This one is from Dash Overton, and I've had a couple of questions from him, and they were actually 3 different episodes. He was going about asking similar questions. So let me read you what he said. He said, hi Paul, have you ever heard of or seen medium to royal deep blue natural Royston Turquoise? I saw a pendant where the seller claims it's natural Royston Turquoise. It's a fairly large size, 2.5 inches long by 1 inch wide. I always see Royston Turquoise as either green with blue tones, or light blue with a brown matrix. But the pendant I saw was nice medium to deep blue with black chert. That's that matrix in there. Yet the seller is adamant that the stone was purchased from a reputable dealer by the name of G.O. Miller, who sold it to her as natural Royston Turquoise. Is there such a thing as medium to deep blue Royston Turquoise with black chert? I would like to purchase the pendant, but just want to make sure, as it's kind of expensive, $600 US. All right, a lot of great questions in there, and I'm going to kind of parse through them as we go along. And yes, I have visited the Royston mine. I remember the family member who, Dean Otteson, who was running the mine at that time. He is now passed on. But basically, I have seen some medium and deep blue colors in there. And the thing that you have to understand about gem mining is that there are a lot of different colors that come out of mines. Even though gems can be, or turquoise can be known for certain characteristics. For example, the number 8 turquoise was really known for that beautiful blue to blue-green color with that honey brown matrix in there. And then you think of the Sleeping Beauty with the robin's egg blue color, predominantly coming from that mine. But I will also tell you, having been to Kingman, there's a lot of different colors that come out of Kingman. In fact, they have found some pieces that can pretty well replicate what you get out of the Sleeping Beauty mine. Is it Sleeping Beauty turquoise? No. Does it look like just like it and no one will be able to tell the difference? Yes. And what I noticed in the mining process is when you go to the Kingman mine, if you go kind of lower in the mountain, which is at the base of where the copper is, remember turquoise is always found where copper is found, you're going to get more of the blue colors, the deeper blue colors, in the lower part of the mountain. They're always looking for these veins at various levels when they're mining for turquoise. And then in the case of higher up in the mountain, in the Kingman mine, you see a lot more of the iron content in there. that tends to be a little bit more of the greenish or blue-green or green colors in the higher elevations in the mine. And this really runs true in almost every mine that you would visit. Having been to the Royston mine, I noticed a couple of things. Number one, the turquoise that comes out of there is largely natural. Very little that I have ever seen of Royston is actually stabilized because the rock around it is so very, very hard. And I saw Dean take things right out of the ground and polish them right on the polishing wheel without putting any stabilization on it at all. The other thing that I remember about that in the Royston Turquoise is they use blasting. And almost every other turquoise mine that I've ever visited, they don't do that. Why? What they'll do is they'll have earth-moving equipment. I think I have that on the video of the Kingman mine. And once they find that vein, all of that stops and people are using hand pickaxes and picking pieces as big as their fist and putting it in a bucket. The rest goes into a hopper and gets recovered later. The reason they can do the blasting at the Royston mine because the turquoise is that much harder than turquoise from other areas of the world. Now, the other things that he started talking about, Dash, was about the is there a way to make sure that it is a natural turquoise? Yes, I'll get to that in a minute. The other thing that he wanted to know is about the cost of $600. Well, the people that he was telling me about, not just the people that was the reputable stone dealer, but the designer that he mentioned is a Native American handmade jewelry designer. And whenever you get Native American handmade turquoise, and that can only be made by, you cannot have Native American turquoise unless it was made by a Native American Indian from the United States, and it's much, much more expensive. So I said, if you have something that size, and it's natural turquoise, and was made by a Native American artist, $600 is a very reasonable price for something like that. Oh, one last thing. I talked about if you wanted to get a certification of the stone being natural, you can get that done with a full spectrum analysis. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can try and go through the GIA, which is generally pretty expensive, or you can go through one of the places that I went to was the New Mexico School of Mines in Socorro, New Mexico. Now, I did get a discount because I was introduced to him by a mutual friend that does a lot of business with them and gets a lot of certifications. But that's a way to tell a full spectrum analysis. Has it been stabilized? What are the trace elements that are in that turquoise? You can find all of that out. You won't necessarily be able to tell, did it come exactly from the Royston mine? That's why I always say you have to trust your source whenever you're buying the turquoise, because a lot of people are passing on Sleeping Beauty these days as Sleeping Beauty turquoise when it actually came from another source. All right, I know that was a long-winded answer, but Dash had a lot invested in that question. Now we go to Tinbot Turnbot from episode 53, Grossular Garnet. He asked, I have a creek where I find tons of green. How do I get some to you to check for authenticity? Well, Tinbot Turnbot, I'm not sure what you're talking about as green in the stream. So I don't know if you're talking about crystal, gemstones, or are you talking about like something opaque like a turquoise that seems to have green on it, or just the fact that it could be a stream that has a lot of iron in, around an iron mine or iron deposits, where you're going to get some green natural coloration on the stones. So that's number one. Number one, without seeing it, I can't really make anything about it. As far as sending them to me, unfortunately, I can't accept any stones from subscribers. It would be too messy and too many to deal with. I don't have the facilities here to do that type of testing. So once again, one possibility is the GIA. And if you go to a show like the Tucson Gem Show, when that opens up again, they have a GIA lab on site that can do some probably more simplistic testing. Otherwise, you'd have to send what you have out to the GIA lab in Carlsbad, California. Now, the other option, once again, I can't believe I had two questions that were of the same type of question, that uh, School of Mines, the New Mexico School of Mines, is another great way to get it tested. Now, about the GIA, and just being honest with all of you, when I was at first of all, the Tucson Gem Show, you can't get to that GIA testing lab unless you're in the gem business. You can certainly go to other sources in the Tucson Gem Show, but you can't get to certain areas unless you have, you know, a business in the gemstone business. Okay. But one of the things I did want to mention, especially with that expedited lab in Tucson, sometimes it can be less than perfect. And I know that one time I had a friend in the opal business that wanted me to submit the samples for him because he's a member of the GIA, they know him, and he didn't want them to have any preconceived notions about the stone, and it was a black opal. So I got the thing back. It cost, I want to say, $300 to get the test done, and they came back, which I considered to be kind of a lazy answer. They said, well, this is a black opal and matrix consistent with acid treated opals from Australia. Well, I went back to them and I said, I happen to know that this was not acid treated opal. And they said, well, then what was done to it? And I said, well, that's what I paid you the $300 for. So you sometimes have to be very careful even when you're sending something off to a testing lab. But that's the only answers that I have for you, Tinbot, for that one. All right, I think this will be the last, since my last answer was so long-winded, I think this will be the last question I will go through for this week, and then I'll pick it up again next week. This one is from William M. from episode 21, which is happens to be Turquoise 101, one of my favorite lessons, one of the more popular lessons. And he says, $60 a pound? Hook me up with that seller, LOL. Everyone is selling it at like $100 a pound. Well, William, I'm not exactly sure, I haven't watched that lesson in a while, which I was talking about. I believe it might have been the number 8 turquoise when I was talking about how I got a great buy on that, and how I know that there was only 3 people that were authorized in the world to even sell that number 8 turquoise. That mine's been closed for better than 40 years. But yes, regardless of whether it was number 8 or something else, I always got really great prices on turquoise for a number of reasons. Number one, I pretty much know everybody in the turquoise business, at least in the United States anyway, and they pretty much know who I am as well. I got calls from them out of the blue all of the time. And also because my manufacturers were buying with me, we were making jewelry that was selling in big volume on shopping channels. So when you are buying, like, no matter how you buy your gemstones, if you're buying in great quantities, you're going to get a discounted price. It's just the fact of the matter. I don't care who you're dealing with. And I've bought rough before. In fact, there was a black stone that I was getting that was a natural, sort of a little bit jade, a little bit moonstone out of Colorado. And there was 5,000 pounds. That was all there was in the world. And I was going to pay a certain price for it. But in the negotiations, he said, I really want you to take it all. And I ended up paying a much, much lower price per pound as a result, because I'm investing in, now I got to store it, I got to cut it, I got to do all those things. But yeah, I do get a great price on turquoise and other gemstones. And if you were serious about, you know, it's selling like $100 a pound, if you want to buy in bulk and you want me to put you in touch with some other people that have different turquoises or other gemstones, let me know. I'll see what I can do for you. Well, that's going to do it for this week's lesson. As I said, I'll pick this up where it went along. I'm trying to keep these a little bit more brief, like 15 or less than 20 minutes anyway. So if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. It doesn't cost a penny. I know it says subscribe, but it's completely free. And remember that each and every Saturday, my gemstone lessons are available at 10 a.m. Eastern Time in the United States. And then my Q&A series, that happens every single Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you all next week for our next Q&A series on the Colored Gemstone Academy. Bye, everybody.